by all the ministers that needed to be there and were there. And during the 2 days that we were here, we discussed a number of important plans that we had. We touched on the Regional Indicative Strategic Development Plan of 2015 to 2020, the Strategic Indicative Plan for the organ, and the SADC Industrialization Strategy and Roadmap. We also received progress on the implementation of decisions taken in August 2017. Those decisions are normally brought to us for our attention by the Secretariat, as well as the implementation of the corporate plan of the SADC Secretariat, and we improved the operational plan for the budget 2018-2019. We have just returned as the African Union from an exhilarating meeting in Kigali, and here we were able to cement our own input into some of the issues there, and we discussed a variety of matters. I will distribute to you a press statement, and you'll be able to cover most of the areas that perhaps I might have skipped along the way. Of importance amongst the things that we discussed today was that we noted the industrialization strategy and emphasized the importance of industrialization. Some of our members under the AU banner have signed the declaration and the plan for regional integration, and we're very proud of the progress that we have made after the trade agreement that had been worked on by the Ministers of Trade. We congratulated them for work well done, and many ministers and many presidents were able to sign through this. And without the necessary plan to industrialize our countries, the integration will come to nothing. So we are very glad that we had the opportunity today to discuss and concretize the industrialization roadmap. And we went on to deal with matters of the value chains that we would need to generate around the pharmaceutical, minerals, agro-processing sectors, etc., etc. And we directed the Secretariat to convene meetings to assist member states with negotiating and developing value chains in a number of other items that are identified in the press release that you will be dealing with. And we also acknowledge the work that had been done in the SADC Regional Resource Mobilization Framework, which was brought to us by the Secretariat, and we directed them to conclude that framework for the next meeting. We also received a progress report on the SADC University of Transformation, and I see a number of us here who would be eligible to apply to enroll at the University of Transformation. We received a progress report from the Secretariat, and we also approved the regional financing facility for SADC, and we also approved the regional program on the transfrontier conservation areas. And we decided, as we're discussing the transfrontier areas, that it is important that SADC is able to define for itself its own transfrontier regions. In particular, Angola felt that at most times we're driven by the financiers to define what is a transfrontier area, and he urged us to begin to define our own transfrontier areas. We have agreed today to change the dates of the double troika meeting in Luanda to the 23rd and the 24th, and pending the acceptance of that by all heads of state, that will be the new date. The SADC summit will be thereafter in August, and we are happy to indicate that today we had representatives, 15 foreign affairs ministers, supported by their staff and ably supported by the SADC Secretariat. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to answer questions, but I would like you to direct most of those questions to the Executive Secretary here, She is the one who is very ably driving the processes and the engine of SADC. What we have prepared here will allow us to go to the Double Troika meeting and report there and prepare ourselves for the summit, which South Africa is chairing in August. I've just had a meeting now, 2 meetings, one with the Foreign Minister of Lesotho, because as you know, we are experiencing some problems on the border, and he has indicated to me that there would be a letter on my desk from the King of Lesotho, who feels extremely aggrieved by the way that he was treated at the border. I've extended through him my sincerest apologies for this, and have indicated to him that I will personally go to Lesotho to apologize to the King for any mistreatment he might have encountered at our border. The Minister of Home Affairs is currently on his way to the border post so that we can deal with some of the administrative problems that have been brought to our attention by the government of Lesotho. I thereafter had a meeting with His Excellency, the Prime Minister of, Deputy Prime Minister of the DRC, accompanied by the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps in South Africa, Mr. Mpoko, and we discussed a number of issues. The reason for the meeting was for the DRC to brief us on issues that they think we need to be informed about. As chair of SADC, they believe that it is important for them to brief us so that when we talk up on SADC matters, we are speaking from a factual basis. They are currently preparing for elections, and they have a roadmap towards election. It's a very sensitive time for them, and therefore they needed to brief us so that when we do speak, we are speaking from an informed position. Otherwise, it might cause serious problems for them. It was a very cordial meeting that we had, and we parted wishing them well in their preparation for election sometime this year. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have to say to you, and the briefing will be provided to each one of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will take questions. The Minister can come in.
I have delegated, I have powers to delegate.
Oh, okay. Okay. We'll take 3, just your name and the media house and then the person.
Thank you very much, Minister Shannon Ibrahim Group for an editor of the independent media. I was wondering in the discussions with the Lesotho whether there was any discussion on whether someone would replace President Cyril Ramaphosa as the mediator in Lesotho, or is there no need for a mediator anymore? And I was also wondering in the discussions of the last 2 days whether there was any discussion on moving forward the Committee on Natural Gas to SADC, and what was the discussion relating to natural gas? Thank you.
Yeah, Peter Gracious from Daily Maverick. If I may ask the Executive Secretary on the question of Lesotho, whether you've resolved the question about financing of the SADC peacekeeping forces that are running smoothly. And if I may ask, our Minister, you met the DRC Deputy Prime Minister, who is also Foreign Minister. Did you receive assurances that the election is on track, plus also whether President Kabila is intending to run again?
Tabana Katang, SABC News. I think the Lesotho has already been asked, and already had an engagement with the Minister with the Minister of Lesotho. But with regard to Zimbabwe, we understand Zimbabwe is going to elections in July. Was it discussed what role will South Africa play in Zimbabwe?
Okay, take those questions.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Shannon, you know, I thought you were putting your hand up to say you're available to lecture at the University of Transformation. Any takers? No. On the issue of Lesotho, Was there any discussion around the matter of the possibility of a replacement of the president as mediator? No. The matter that the foreign minister of Lesotho had wanted to raise with me was an urgent matter. As you all know, there have been talks that the Basotho people will blockade the border on Tuesday. Next week Tuesday? Yes. And we're very concerned about what might happen there. And therefore we needed to ensure that we can normalize the situation. That was what was uppermost in his mind. And also the complaint from the king was uppermost in his mind, and those are the two matters we dealt with. We did not deal with the matter of the mediator. As you know, the president is doing a tour of SADC countries, and at some point we will get to Lesotho, and we will discuss the matter around whether or not there's still any need for mediation as chair of SADC, and in that case, whether we should replace the current president as a mediator there. There have been talks as we have gone around the various countries of SADC about what we will be doing about replacing a mediator, whether it is advisable to do so at so late an hour, and whether perhaps the president would still be able to do that given the fact that he's now the president. So these are the matters that will be discussed in Lesotho, but they were not discussed in our discussions today. On the matter of our discussions with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, also Deputy Prime Minister of the DRC, the elections are on course. He assured me that they have 46 million people that have registered for elections in the DRC, that they are now in the process of preparing for the election, for the registration of the candidates for election, and thereafter the election, the demarcation process would ensue, and there would be a requirement for laws to govern that. All of these things are on course. So yes, the DRC is in an electoral year, and the DRC is preparing for election and very seriously very concerned about making sure it can get all the support it would get from the SADC countries to assist in this matter. Will Kabila stand? That was not a matter that was on the table. It was not discussed. What we're discussing was the principle of the election and the support that the DRC would need and would get from sister countries such as ourselves to make sure that it is a successful election and a free and fair election. Zimbabwe.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Let me begin from where the Minister ended. Natural Gas Committee, that was also not discussed, but just to let you know that the committee met and the work is in progress, and a progress report will be presented during the next Council of Ministers meeting. It was not part of the agenda of this meeting, so I cannot provide the details. Just to assure you that the committee is ongoing with this work. Resources, financing for SADC preventive mission Lesotho. I did not understand exactly what is the question, but just to let you know that the mission is there, and the budget was prepared, and the mission is for the one which was approved for 6 months. The resources are there. So I'm not sure what you meant by resources, but the resources were there. Maybe you meant resources for the next phase. That will be determined at a later stage because we have not decided on how to proceed with the mission. But the mission proceed with its mandate for the 6 months, and with all the requirements in terms of human but also financial resources. The DRC has been responded to. Zimbabwe, I'll combine Zimbabwe and DRC in terms of SADC support. What we support, how we support our sister countries is we observe elections, and in both cases we have sent and undertaken our advanced missions, and those missions they assess the preparedness of the country. That was done in the DRC but also in Zimbabwe. The next phase will now to observe elections. We have already been invited for Zimbabwe. We are waiting to be invited for the DRC, and the invitation will come because depending on the electoral calendar. As you are aware, elections in DRC takes place on the 23rd of December, so we still have time to get invitation from the DRC, but we will support as we normally do in all our member states.
Okay. Any last pending question? No?
During the African Union summit in January, SADC took quite a strong position about the reforms of the African Union, and there were many concerns about it. And was it discussed at this meeting, and is there any progress, for example, on issues such as the funding and SADC's opposition, if I understand correctly, to that?
Okay. Second one, source.
Oh, thank you. I think on the issue of land for South Africa, you can see the country received some, I think international relations call it untruths, or rather reactions from untruths from international, other countries in the world. Have you discussed this, has South Africa discussed this with its peers in SADC?
Okay, we take those two. Okay.
I also have a follow-up question. I also want to know about the situation regarding the issue of exploitation and compensation, which seems to be quite an issue in South Africa, and that especially the issue of Australia wanting to welcome or expedite patient visas to the country. I just want to know what is the stand of the ministry, of your ministry?
Okay, we'll take the very last one. Going, gone.
Could I ask the Minister, this week our resolutions from the NATO conference were published, and one of them is confirmation of the July conference's decision to put out the SADC. Is that something that the new administration is going to pursue?
Okay. Minister.
Okay. I just wanted to say before I answer these questions that I omitted an important matter in my report on the council meeting, and that is the issue of listeriosis. And the ministers were concerned if the companies would take over the social responsibility should there be any cases of listeriosis in the region. I consulted Minister Motsoaledi, who assured me that he is meeting or has met with the Ministers of Health, and this matter is a matter that is very much on the agenda, and he will advise as and when there is any feedback on this matter. He also assured me that so far we've only had one case of listeriosis reported outside of our borders, and that was in Swaziland, and the matter is being dealt with. On the issues that you are asking today about the AU reforms, the matter that served before us today was not so much the reforms themselves, but our place in those reforms. You will remember that part of the reforms required that there should be a 15-member ministerial team to support the AU chair. And we are allocated 3 out of that 15. Every region is allocated 3 members. We've had discussions amongst ourselves. We had an informal discussion in Kigali amongst the SADC members, and it was confirmed at this meeting today. The 3 members that we have nominated and approved today consist of the current chair of SADC, which is ourselves, the incoming chair of SADC, which is Namibia, and the chair of the organ, which is Angola. So those are the 3 members that will be part of the support structure to the AU chair and advisory council. That much is confirmed. But beyond that, we have not dealt with the matter in this meeting. On issues of land, we did not discuss the issue of land. It was not on our agenda. Most of the items on the agenda are standing items. This one we did not put on the agenda because we believe that the processes that we in South Africa are following, which are the parliamentary processes, are sufficient. We have been saying over and over again, there is no need to panic. Everything is under control. We will do things in the same way as we've always done in the past in resolving difficult issues. We've resolved very difficult issues in this country, and we've come out of that with everybody feeling sufficiently represented. The parliamentary process will therefore be given the necessary space to unfold. However, in the discussion, in the visits we have had with the president to the various countries that we have been to, the issue of land has been discussed, and we have taken best practice from them, and we hope that when we deal with this matter, we will have learned from how not to do it. Then on the issue of the land matter without compensation and the responses we've received from various countries or representatives of various countries, we dealt with the matter of Australia very directly with Australia. We requested the High Commissioner from Australia to come and explain the position of his government, and he did so very successfully. And we will be distributing today, perhaps through the DG, the response of the Prime Minister of Australia in relation to this matter, and we are quite satisfied. It would be important actually that we distribute that statement so that we can put the matter behind us. We requested them to take note of the matter and to withdraw. They have responded, and we're glad we have that behind us. There is a question around will we withdraw from the ICC? You do know that the policies that are adopted by the ANC at the conference are binding on us in government, and therefore the resolution of the conference will be worked out and repackaged for government through the International Relations Committee, subcommittee of the ANC, and we will discuss it when that matter is put on the table. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. The Executive Secretary would like to add a few matters around the reforms of the AU.
Okay, thank you, Madam Minister and the Chair of Council. In addition to what the Minister said, the Council received a refined position on our reform process, refined in a manner that we undertook a detailed analysis on these reforms, and then working together with our ambassadors at the African Union. And we have prepared a position as we did last time. The position is going to be submitted by our current chair to the union. But what has been emphasized is that reforms, we agree with the reforms. We understand that they are critical, but they must be dealt with and pursued in line with the African Union Constitutive Act. That is the major decision, which is in line with what was decided last time. But over and above, our ambassadors at the African Union have also been mandated to make a constant and regular follow-up and to notify the Council on a regular basis on what is transpiring with our position, which will be submitted by the current chair of SADC. But all in all, the reforms, the position has not changed. It's the same position as we had submitted last time. And then noting that it is very important to be part of that is what the Minister decided and as presented by the Chairperson of Council, that within the F-15, SADC is going to be part of that. That is what I wanted to add, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. Members of the media, we will release an updated diary in the remaining 1 or 2 days, and also the statement and with the letter from the DG will arrive in your inbox before you eat tea.
Thank you very much to everybody. dear. I have to run.
Okay, you.
My flight is in a few minutes. Leaving. I am leaving.
Oh, who is continuing over tomorrow?
Coming back. I'm just Samir. I'm going to Cape Town because I'll be here tomorrow. I live in Cape Town.
So you have been traveling
Every time. I have a young son to look after.
Okay, if you want to take the card, I'll get it from you.
Yes. I'll see you. Travel well. Okay, thanks a lot.
Hi, Studio 9, Tapan. Yes, we are done with SADC. Is there anything else that you want from us? All right.
It's not marked anything. It's 32. I did this so that they don't report it. Dash. Because I said